I want to show you guys an example of like what it takes to be completely shredded and to be one of the leanest and one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. We have a video to do a reaction to Chris Bumstead and his diet during his prep. And this is a few years ago. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention is because oftentimes when I post something up or some other influencers and stuff post things up, people are like, oh, this is all steroids, or I think that steroids like do everything. In this video, you're going to see Chris Bumstead eating 1,600 calories a day. I don't know how long he did 1,600 calories a day, but he also talks about doing an hour of cardio. He's lifting minimum 4 days a week, maybe 5, maybe even 6. The body part split, the whole thing, training very hard. And a lot of IFBB pros, we know they utilize performance enhancing drugs. So even with performance enhancing drugs and even with things like growth hormone and all these different things that people have access to, and I don't think CBUM had access to this when he was competing maybe a few years ago, although he did retire not too long ago. I don't think people were talking about retatrutide and the GLP-1s and so forth at that time. So that's a different subject to maybe be explored on a different day. Regardless of what you take and how much you take, you still have to be extremely disciplined. You still have to have like a low calorie input. Like if some of these guys could step on stage with 3,500 calories, I think they would. But they don't. And why is it that they don't? Because they want to ensure the best results possible. Maybe Chris Bumstead could go higher than 1,600. Maybe 1,600 was real strategic in accordance to what he was doing prior. Like there's a lot of things to think about. Hani Rambod, who's his coach, the guy's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He's an incredible coach, and I have nothing but admiration for Chris Bumstead and Hani Rambod. I'm just trying to demonstrate to you guys that it takes more than a bag of steroids to step on a Mr. Olympia stage. It takes a lot of training, and the diet, you don't get to excuse yourself from the diet. So Chris Bumstead, one of the all-time greats, let's just hypothetically say that we think he's got some of the best genetics, okay, right? He's got, I don't know, well, let's say he's got top 25 genetics in the history of bodybuilding. Top 10, top 5, I don't know. You throw out a number, but he's top something, right? Like his genetics are probably good. And we know that in bodybuilding, there's performance-enhancing drugs being utilized. And having knowledge of those two things, Chris Bumstead still has to have a low-calorie diet with a high energy output. And you guys have heard me talk many times before. I'm not a fan of calories. I'm not a fan of counting calories. Now, you have to keep in mind, I don't know anything about bodybuilding. I'm not a bodybuilder. Most of the time when people step on stage, they're counting calories. So I'm not in denial of that. I'm not in denial of the fact that counting calories can be effective. I, myself, am just not a fan of it. And I doubt that these days Chris Bumstead's counting any calories. Most people don't want to count calories. It's like an inconvenience into their life. But when you're a pro bodybuilder or you're taking bodybuilding that next level, that's where you may want to consider it. I don't advise it because I think that you can stay very, very lean and stay in incredible shape year-round without needing to count your calories, just by making good food choices. However, there's some people that want to take it to another level. And when you want to take it to the level that Chris Bumstead's taking it to, it has to be precise. There's got to be some precision. He needs to know what he's eating. His coach needs to know what he's eating so they can monitor his look as he gets closer and closer to the competition. And this is the way that they figured it out to be the best because he's won multiple times, right? They have a recipe on how Chris Bumstead can be the best, how he can be at his best, and how he can look his best. So we're going to play some parts of this video so you guys can see that no one gets to sidestep, no matter your genetics or no matter your performance-enhancing drug usage. No one gets to sidestep the eating side of things to get themselves in really good shape.
Welcome to like 1.5 weeks out, full day of eating. This is where we're down to the wire, eating absolutely nothing. So I'm going to be taking you through what I'm going to eat all day, every day. I had a great sleep last night. I don't know what happened, but I actually dropped 3 pounds.
A lot of bodybuilders will report that. I know for myself, I lost like 5 pounds. My weight was just stagnant. It was stuck. And then boom, I had a really good night of sleep and the weight just went, chew. Who knows exactly why it's happening, but it's probably, a water situation, probably losing some water weight. Maybe it's, in direct correlation with cortisone or cortisol and things of that nature.
That's the most I've dropped this entire prep. My weight has been so stubborn this year, as I told you in the last video. So I'm really happy about that. I feel pretty exhausted, but it's time for breakfast, so it's good. I had an hour of cardio to do today, I did some abs, and yeah. But I'm gonna take you through what my breakfast is. So every single morning, I start with a big glass of water.
Pause. So it sounds like he already hit an hour of cardio for the day, did some abs. Sounds to me like he did some fasted cardio, which is interesting. There's always like debate on that. But again, when your ass is on the line and they're actually judging you and you're Chris Bumstead and you're one of the all-time greats, you're going to go with and you're going to stick with what you really believe to be the right thing to do. Also doesn't sound like he woke up at some ridiculous hour. So good on him because, having that sleep is really critical. We'll sometimes hear bodybuilders waking up at like 5 in the morning and, either starting their meal prep or hitting some really, really early cardio in the morning to kind of get their day started, to get all the nutrients and everything in that they need to get in as well. And he said it's kind of a little bit more like, it's like noon. Maybe you can speed up the speed that it plays just a bit since Bumstead's a little lethargic as he's only 1.5 weeks out from the show.
But I do 1 scoop of daily greens in there. I do 1 scoop of the GI product, and I do a scoop of glutamine. This has honestly been helping my digestion so much. I feel like I've talked about it already in a video, so I'm not going to go into depth, but this has been helping my digestion a lot in the morning, and it tastes really good to have like a chocolate drink. I also put in a scoop of fiber. I'm eating a little bit less veggies right now, just like trying to cut everything out, but I'm still trying to keep my fiber in. So
if he's to eat like a lot of fiber, he might have like some discomfort. I did find what he said about digestion to be interesting, how this is like, helping his digestion, but probably one of the most helpful things to your digestion is to have a little bit of break from eating so much food. Sometimes bodybuilders are eating 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day and eating tremendous amounts of calories, and that's a lot on the digestive system. The digestive system obviously can handle it without any real trouble, but sometimes from one meal to the next, the digestion is rough. And what Bumstead talking about there about glutamine's been shown many times to help a lot of people with like leaky gut and a lot of other things. So if you do have digestive issues, I think it's a good idea to look into some of what he's talking about here, especially something like glutamine.
One of Courtney's like bougie, fancy fiber brands. This is my message to Revive or Raw. One of you guys needs to make a fiber product. So this is first, I blend the shit out of this and drink it with my breakfast.
There's
a lot of ice in there on purpose, so I just let that sit while I make my eggs, and then when I make my eggs, blend it even more, and then eat it all together. So breakfast, the real food, is not very exciting at all.
He's making up his breakfast. He's just going to kind of eat everything together. If you're eating less, and for these guys, for bodybuilders, it kind of sucks because they're not only eating less, but they do still like to have that meal frequency. It's kind of like torture because you don't really get a big old bowl of anything to eat. However, egg whites do go a long way. He's throwing an egg yolk in there. The egg yolk is going to add a little bit of fat in there, but it's also adding, some choline and some micronutrients and stuff that are good for us. And we don't want to get rid of all of the fat as you get close to a show, but you want to get rid of a lot of it. And as you'll see in this video, his 1,600 calories is like mainly coming from carbohydrates and protein. And there's very, very little fat. Like this first meal that he has, this first meal might have like 7 grams of fat in it. Whatever amount of fat might be in like that shake that he made, which is probably actually closer to 0. So maybe this first meal has only like 5 grams of fat in it or something like that. You could play the audio again.
But here's breakfast. It might not look like much, but it's quite delicious. And the reason it's really delicious is because I still put this bitch on it. This is about a 250 calorie breakfast. with also hair on it. So I'm gonna spare myself a little bit of sugar-free ketchup, and it is what it is. Getting down to the wire, enjoying the little things in life. But I'm gonna put this down because I am absolutely starving right now, and that's it. I'll see you for meal number 2.
250 calories, that's not a lot, but it's something, and by having the egg whites there, I would say maybe he ate like the equivalent of like maybe 6 egg whites or so, maybe 7, I don't know. Kind of hard to tell. Plus there's one whole egg in there. That's a great shot. Again, it's not nothing. It's not a lot of food, but it's not nothing. It's like you can survive that. You can eat that. Now they're making up like a cucumber salad, and it's great to have participation from a significant other with your food, because or even just support. Like they don't have to even like cook your food necessarily, but any support is welcome, because again, you're eating multiple times a day. For my meal prep stuff, it was, my wife was amazing. She cooked up almost all my meals. She like handled the whole thing for me. And so like the meals were just like there. I didn't have to really think about it. And it seems like, Chris is, doing something a little similar. His wife is really helping, and she's really supportive of assisting him with some of the meals. And some people might be thinking, oh, well, why don't you just use like a meal prep company or something like that? You kind of can't. You can't leave this in the hands of anybody else other than yourself. You have to cook and prepare your own stuff. I'm not saying that like a meal prep company is going to sabotage you or anything, but as you do this longer and longer, you just start to learn that the most important thing is that you get this stuff right, and you want to keep it in your own hands. The other thing I find interesting is that we haven't seen Chris Bumstead whipping out any Tupperware. And so he might be the kind of guy that just goes to his house and has his food. Like if you're a bodybuilder and you have like a 9 to 5, okay, well that makes sense. You got to bring some of your meals with you, and how people always talk about meal prep. But I hear a lot of people talk about meal prep, and they have time to like eat their food, and eat some of their food at home. So sometimes I'm like, why do some people even bother with meal prep? But I guess, if you have the food ready in the fridge already, then maybe that makes things a little easier for some people. Like I do that sometimes. I have like leftovers, and I don't mind eating leftovers. By the way, I think if you have a hard time eating leftovers, I think it makes it more difficult to be in good shape, because then that means you have to cook something fresh every single time. And if you don't mind reheating something, I think it's just easier. Anyway, it's my own 2 cents. I'll actually add more protein and stuff too to different meals I might make. Because I might make something enormous. I might make something really big, and then I might eat like 3/4 of it or something like that. I'll put the rest in the fridge, and then I'll cook, some lean meat again and like chuck it in there. So there's a lot of different ways of doing this, but I think it's pretty interesting that he's mainly eating from home. Again, I understand I don't have a job. Chris Bumstead doesn't have a job, so it's easy for some of us to say. But I'd also say that those of you that do have a job, no matter how tedious or hard the job is, you're almost always home in the morning, and you're almost always home in the evening. And because you're home at those 2 times, those are 2 times that are great to cook and to prepare your food, right? So you should be getting in 2 very good meals every day that are freshly cooked, in my opinion. That shouldn't be hard to do. And then, a meal or 2 at work that maybe is prepped.
Number 2, I almost said 3, meal number 2. This is my pre-workout meal, and this is my meal that I need to like really enjoy, because it just like puts me like ready to train, ready to get going. So I have protein content. Instead of doing 190 grams of ground turkey, I do 90 grams of ground turkey in like a salad with some cucumber and some romaine lettuce, which I have here. And then my carb source, where I get my carbs for the gym, I have 45 grams of oats, which I just put on the stove here because it's delicious. And today is exciting, because today's gonna be the first day that I put the CBUM Cinnamon Crunch cereal protein in my oats, and we're gonna see how they taste in oats. It tastes delicious drinking it with water. I haven't put in oats yet, so today's a big test day for that.
Pause. Oatmeal is amazing. He's having oatmeal, and it's like later on in the day. It's before his workout session, his lifting session, and great source of carbohydrate, but it takes up some volume. It takes up some size. I talk a lot about food choices, how important food choices are. He's talking about cucumber. He's talking about iceberg lettuce. These are all things that just take up space in the gut. And they're not calorically dense. Even the oats aren't calorically dense. It has carbohydrate in it, has a little bit of fat in it, but it's not really calorically dense, especially when it's by itself, and especially when you're just mixing it with like some protein powder, like he's going to do in a minute here. So you want to actually utilize food volume to your advantage, and like things like watermelon. Like watermelon's great. Watermelon, yeah, okay, it has sugar in it, but it's mainly water, right? It takes up a lot of volume. You could eat like an entire watermelon every day and still not be consuming a lot of calories, but you're consuming like a lot of food. So you want to try to have, you don't want all your food to be that way. You don't want all your food to have a lot of volume to it, and then have it be minus the macronutrients that you need for survival every day. That would be ridiculous. But we do want to utilize that to our advantage, at least here and there.
All right, here it is. Smells freaking good right now. So we're gonna mix this up in the oats, and equal moment of truth of how well it actually mixes. There's a lot of pressure on camera right now as well. Everyone turn this off. Final product, the most random meal ever, but I got 90 grams of ground turkey with some shredded lettuce and a little cucumber. And I'm gonna eat this second, but I just wanna try it because I don't want Calvin to film me the whole time I'm eating, but I wanna try this on camera, see how good it is. Ooh, that's good. Like creamy. Got that like cereal taste. And because it's like creamy, just a taste you don't get in prep very often.
So good to get different flavors when you're
smells great.
competing, because you don't have the opportunity. So like, I remember Hani was having me have some greens and stuff like that, and it had just some different flavors in the greens, and even that, like mixing that up, I was like, oh man, this tastes so good. And you start kind of losing your mind. I remember thinking like apple cider vinegar tasted good. I remember even like electrolytes, like everything. I mean, electrolytes taste pretty good. Sometimes they're flavored and so forth, but yeah, I just remember like kind of going haywire because you think that everything tastes so good because you can taste the pop and the flavor of everything. He did say like, oh, this is kind of random because he's eating oatmeal sort of like middle of the day. But again, oatmeal is great to utilize even with a dinner. Like, cook up some chicken breast and have some oatmeal with it. It's actually really good. You can kind of eat the two together. You can kind of keep it savory, or you can have the oats as like almost like a dessert type of thing, and maybe put a little cinnamon and sugar in it or something like that, and have it just be, or like whatever your favorite sugar-free thing is. If you're not a fan of sugar, I think it just gives you a lot more options. And when you're eating the way that Bumstead is here, it's like, man, every little morsel, every little bit counts. The turkey with the shredded up, lettuce and cucumber, it looks decent.
It's like a nice touch. Very much approved. We'll save that. We'll finish with that. We'll start with this. I feel like chatting and was there for way too long, so I feel like fucked up right now and very hungry. So to get to the point, so we're again very grateful for Courtney because she had everything already cooked for me waiting. I had some zucchini pre-cooked in there and I added in here. So not a lot of zucchini, but a little bit. So I got a random amount of zucchini. I got 200 grams of white fish, and then I have 100 grams of rice. I've been using this bagged rice because Courtney found an organic one that the only ingredients are water and organic long grain rice. So if I cook a pot of rice right now, it'll last me like 2 weeks because I have 100 grams a day really. So I just have this bag of rice. This lasts me 2 days, and I weigh it out. It's the same thing every single time, very accurate, and that's it. So
that's really torturous. You only get to eat like a little bit of rice. Like I have those same bags every once in a while, and a half a bag is like so disappointing. It's only like 40 carbs rather than, or it's like 45 carbs rather than like the 90 carbs of eating the whole bag. The whole bag is so satisfying.
And then, you know the trick, shredded lettuce to get shredded. So we do that, add a little bit of lettuce onto it. Just a nice little handful.
Taking up more volume, more space.
That up with none other than the goat of prep, yellow mustard, 365. Shout out to fucking Whole Foods coming in strong. But yeah, that's it. 200 grams of fish, 100 grams of rice, and a little bit of veggies. Absolutely delicious, post-workout. Not getting huge, getting shredded.
It seems like it might just be like, so tedious and stuff, but obviously he's got a very specific goal in mind with what he's doing. Fish goes a long way. White fish doesn't have, white fish has hardly any fat in it. Cod and things like that, very, very low in fat. So that's why a lot of bodybuilders choose to do it. I know Ronnie Coleman never really went that route. He just stuck with his chicken breast. But if you want to get something that's leaner than chicken breast, that's when you go for the white fish.
And right now, Kelvin's mic wasn't turned on. I'm losing my mind, and he's the one forgetting things. Unacceptable. But to recap what I just said, I can't remember what I was saying, but I was outside posing in the garage, and I'm like losing my mind right now. Trying to flex is literally like impossible. I have nothing in me right now. But this is not my last meal. Holy crap. This is my 4th meal. I have some asparagus underneath there, and then I have some white fish, and then I'm gonna add some lettuce. So I got like 100 grams of asparagus, 200 grams of fish, and like a handful, as usual, of shredded lettuce. That's 60, 70 grams. And I now have a fish salad, which sounds absolutely disgusting, but doesn't taste that bad, believe it or not. So what goes on the fish salad is, some coconut aminos. These, I don't have these as much lately because I've been doing 1 topping instead of 2, but this has been really good on like lettuce and shit. So I just put a little bit of coconut aminos on there, and that's it. And with this meal, I like to have some nice magnesium calm drink. This is a new flavor Courtney got. We normally go with orange or raspberry lemonade, but she got a sweet lemon this time. Find often when you're in prep, you can become deficient in magnesium, and magnesium can help you relax at night, but also helps you go to the bathroom, which I need the help, as much help as I can get, because when you're very low carb, high protein, and you're just eating like no food, for some reason your digestion goes to shit. So having a little bit of that at night while I enjoy my fish salad, and that's gonna be meal number 4.
He's getting through it. At least he gets to have a lot of meals.
All right, so doing things a little bit differently tonight. Calvin's gone, also vlogging right now, so didn't want to keep him in my house this late at night. Like I was saying, when I were at the gym, got distracted, and today ran a little bit later than usual. So instead of having a meal of turkey and then a meal of eggs and egg whites, I'm having turkey in my egg whites with 2 whole eggs and no oil on one of my meals. So it ends up being pretty much the exact same, maybe a little bit less calories, but we're getting shredded, so it doesn't matter. So combining my last 2 meals right now, only because it's super late, but it's gonna be 100 grams of ground turkey, 280 grams of egg whites, and then 2 whole eggs. So I'm gonna put the egg whites and the turkey together on there, and then I'm gonna do 2 over easy sunny side up eggs, depends on how skillful I'm feeling, and mix it all together, and that's gonna be my last meal.
Sounds pretty good. He gets to have a pretty big meal at the end by combining 2.
To get some over easy eggs in there, perfect. The egg is still nice and soft and didn't break the yolk, so that was perfect. But that is going to be a wrap on today's full day of eating. Not super in depth. My brain is not functioning super great. Like I said, it was a slow day. I'm not eating a lot of food, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling excited right now, and this is probably the hardest I've pushed in a while at this far out. I've been eating like this since a little over 2 weeks out, and it's obviously super low calorie, cardio super high. My weight was being stubborn, like really stubborn, and I just had to do a big push. And I found there's like a threshold that when you start pushing really hard, like you get under a certain amount of carbs and you're doing a certain amount of cardio, that you just like don't care anymore. Like if I was having 150, 160 grams of rice in a few meals, it makes me more hungry and like more tired and thinking about food more. But when every meal is like so low, you start to cut out like even more vegetables, and you cut out like carbs in pretty much every meal is except for 2, and everything's just like the same salad or the same fish, whatever. You just start to care a lot less, and it starts to become a lot more easy to get through. Your body just starts functioning on less. I don't know. It's also maybe just 'cause I've been dieting longer. I've gotten a little more used to it, but I felt like the last few weeks, even though I've been like physically exhausted and tired, I felt like motivated and pushed. I was able to just like push to keep like going. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need food. I don't need to eat. Don't need it. I could have no meals today, but obviously I got to eat a little bit. But I honestly feel like I could be eating less and surviving right now. So it's a good feeling, and there's this like subtle satisfaction as a bodybuilder to suffering in these last few weeks when you like see people and like my arms getting tired holding the camera up. But when you look at people and they're like, you look exhausted, and you're like, I feel exhausted. I feel dead inside, and that means I'm getting absolutely shredded. Because if you're in your last few weeks of competing and you don't feel great, probably because you're not dieting hard enough. And this is one of the things where this is strict to bodybuilding. I'm trying to win the Olympia. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm not just trying to get in shape. I'm trying to get to like unhealthy, low body fat levels where I'm absolutely peeled, shredded glutes on stage. This isn't something I suggest anyone tries ever, because it sucks and it's not healthy. But I'm trying to win Olympia, trying to win number 3 to be exact. So pushing the limits, going hard, and enjoying every second of it. So got another week or so of this left, and then it's game time and it's all over. So got to enjoy it while it's here. push while I can. And yeah, that's a wrap on today. I can't even remember if I said this, but I think it was around 1,600 calories, maybe a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure, but this is what I've been eating to get shredded, make weight. Classic physique numero 12.
I thought that was awesome, and thank you for Chris Bumstead and his team for shooting that. I'm sure it was intrusive and annoying to like have to film it, because sometimes that's when you're a creator, sometimes it is that way, even though it is part of, you know, what we do. But it takes a lot of energy to do that when you're preparing like that. Not 100% sure how long he rides that out for. It kind of sounds like he does that particular amount of food for about 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm sure before that he's, you know, not eating a lot either. He's probably also doing, you know, 45 minutes or half an hour of cardio on most days in preparation to get ready to start to that version of his contest prep. So there's weeks and weeks and weeks that go into it. A lot of times bodybuilders are spending 16 weeks, depending on, you know, where they start and so forth. It's a handful of months, you know, 3 to 4, maybe even 5 months sometimes for some guys to get into the shape that they want to. I know that Chris Bumstead doesn't, he doesn't get like fat. He doesn't really get like way out of shape, so he might take a little less prep than some other people. But yeah, I just find it all really interesting. And again, you know, he's talking about getting so lean that it is not reasonable to maintain that level of leanness, right? He's talking about, I can get this lean, but even I, with good genetics and so forth, am only getting this lean for a period. I might look this way for 2 weeks. I might look this way for a week. I might look this way for maybe, sometimes these guys stretch it out. They do another competition close by. They do photo shoots and stuff close to it. You're only holding that for just a bit, and then you're moving on, and you're getting bigger. You're going to lose a lot of those lines. You're going to lose a lot of that definition. You're going to lose a lot of the veins. And this is where people, you know, they talk so much about sustainability, like that's not sustainable. And it's like, well, not everything is meant. It's not meant for you to always just sustain. It's not always meant for you just to like hang out there. Sometimes you're just getting yourself loaded and ready to go into a new phase. And I think bodybuilders have done such a great job of that. They go through their hypertrophy phase, their strength phase, their bulking phase, and they go through their phase where they're getting leaner, and they're losing weight, and they're getting shredded. And as he said, there's really no way around it. There's going to be some suffering at the end. And no matter what diet I've utilized over the years, eventually, and I said this on a video, like eventually you're going to start to get rid of 2 macronutrients. And that's exactly what he said at the end of this. He's primarily only eating protein. His carbs and his fats are both low at that point. And that's what it takes to get lean like that. Now, another reason why I showed this to you guys and wanted you guys to see this was, you could do something similar, but you don't have to go nearly with the intensity that CBUM did, because you don't have the same goals as him. So you could take all those same foods and eat very similar foods, or slightly change those foods, have some of the white fish, maybe be some like lean steaks or some chicken breast, chicken thighs, a little bit of stuff like that, maybe a little bit more on the rice, and maybe your calories are a little higher. You know, but again, you don't have the same goals, but you can lose a lot of weight by following a program that looked like that and had an extra probably 800 calories. You'd still probably be losing weight, and you would be eating like a nice amount of food every day. Maybe even 1,000 calories more. Got up to 2,600 calories, or even closer to the 3,000 mark. There's a lot of people that would make a lot of progress. I know people don't believe me, but there's a lot of people that make a lot of progress eating between 2,500 and 3,000 calories a day. There's a lot of folks out there, a lot of people out there that aren't training for performance. They're not training to get bigger. They're not training to get stronger. And because of that, they're kind of stuck with the same old measly calories that they have. Meanwhile, there's CrossFit chicks that are in amazing shape eating 2,800 calories a day, and they're shredded. So, and lastly, just wanted to show that to you guys, just showing you kind of what it takes to be someone like a Chris Bumstead. For some of you, you may think, oh man, that's easy because he's got his wife cooking and helping for, he got himself to that point. It took a lot of work, a lot of dedication. It took a lot of time. It took many years to even get to that spot in the first place. He's a, 0.00001% of the population. Unbelievable bodybuilder. And I just thought that was really interesting that he's only eating 1,600 calories a day. If he has to eat 1,600 calories a day to get shredded, what's that mean for the rest of us? Strength is never a weakness. Weakness never a strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.